Level 1. The applicant. You don't become a fighter pilot by wanting it. You become one by surviving a selection process designed to eliminate everyone except the ones who refuse to quit. You're 22 years old, newly commissioned from the Air Force Academy, or ROTC, or Officer Training School. You have a degree, a commission, and orders to report to undergraduate pilot training. You're one of 300 officers who applied for pilot slots this year. 150 were selected. Of those, maybe 20 will fly fighters. The rest will fly tankers, transports, bombers, all honorable missions. None of them are what you want. You report to Laughlin Air Force Base in Texas, or Vance in Oklahoma, or Columbus in Mississippi. Flat, hot, humid bases in the middle of nowhere because the airspace is unrestricted and the weather allows year-round flying. You arrive with 30 other student pilots. Some are prior enlisted. Some are academy graduates who've wanted this since they were children. Some are former engineers who decided spreadsheets weren't enough. All of you think you're going to fly fighters. Most of you are wrong. The first 6 months are academics and simulator training. You learn aerodynamics, weather theory, air traffic procedures, emergency procedures for aircraft you haven't touched yet. You memorize boldface, emergency procedures you must recite perfectly under pressure. Fire on ground, throttle idle, mixture idle cutoff, ignition off, battery off. Get one word wrong and you start over. Get it wrong 3 times and you wash out. The standards are not negotiable. Level 2, the student. You start flying the T-6 Texan II, a turboprop trainer with a glass cockpit and enough power to kill you if you make the wrong input at the wrong time. Your instructor pilot is a captain with 1,000 hours who will determine whether you progress or wash back or eliminate from training entirely. You fly twice a day. Morning brief at 0600. Walk to the aircraft. Pre-flight, start up, taxi, takeoff. The sortie lasts 90 minutes. You land, debrief for an hour. Every mistake analyzed. Every radio call critiqued. Every maneuver graded on a scale where satisfactory is the minimum and anything below means you're failing. You learn basic aircraft control. Straight and level flight. Turns, climbs, and descents. Sounds simple. At 200 knots with an instructor watching every input you make and traffic converging from 3 directions and a controller issuing instructions you must acknowledge correctly, nothing is simple. You solo at Flight 15. Your IP steps out of the aircraft and tells you to fly 3 touch and goes. You take off alone. The aircraft feels lighter, more responsive, more dangerous. You complete the pattern. You land without dying. Your classmates spray you with a fire extinguisher on the ramp. This is tradition. Then comes formation flying. Wingtip 3 feet from your lead's aircraft at 250 knots. You learn to fly in relation to another aircraft instead of the horizon. Your scan shifts. Lead's wingtip, your position, airspeed, altitude, lead's wingtip, over and over. The first time you close too fast and your IP takes the controls before you collide. He doesn't yell, he explains what you did wrong and tells you not to do it again. The implication is clear. Do it again and you're done. 4 students in your class wash out during Phase 2, 1 for consistently unsafe flying, 1 for inability to handle task saturation, 2 for accumulation of failures across multiple rides. They're reassigned, probably to transports or tankers. They're devastated. You would be too. You pass Phase 2, barely. Your scores are middle of the class. The middle means you're not getting fighters. You need top third. You study harder. You chair fly every maneuver in your room at night. You sacrifice sleep to memorize procedures. Your scores improve. Level 3, the track select. Phase 3 determines what you'll fly for the rest of your career. T-38 Talons for fighters and bombers. T-1 Jayhawks for transports and tankers. Everyone wants 38s. Only the top students get them. The list goes up on a Friday. You're on it. Number 8 out of 30. You're tracked to 38s. You're 1 step closer to fighters. The T-38 is a 1960s-era supersonic jet trainer that is unforgiving of mistakes. You learn advanced formation, tactical flying, low-level navigation at 300 feet and 420 knots where 1 wrong turn puts you into a ridgeline. You learn basic fighter maneuvers. Show 1v1 air combat against your IP who has 500 hours in the jet and will beat you every single time. You learn instruments, flying on gauges alone in simulated weather. You learn night flying where spatial disorientation kills student pilots every few years because they trust their inner ear instead of their instruments and fly into the ground. You graduate UPT, 52 weeks of training, 220 hours of flying. You receive your silver wings at a ceremony where your family attends and you feel something close to pride. Then comes the assignment drop. This determines what you'll fly. F-15 Eagles, F-16 Vipers, F-22 Raptors, F-35 Lightning IIs, A-10 Warthogs. You want Raptors. 5th generation air superiority. The best fighter in the world. You get Vipers, F-16s, 4th generation multi-role. Not what you wanted. Still a fighter, you'll take it. Level 4, the B course. The fighter training unit at Luke Air Force Base in Arizona. This is where they teach you to actually employ a fighter aircraft in combat. The F-16 is a single-engine, single-seat, 9G capable multi-role fighter that has been in service since 1978 and is still one of the most capable aircraft on Earth. Your first flight is an orientation ride with an IP and a 2-seat D model. You start the engine. The jet is louder and more aggressive than anything you've flown. While you taxi out, the canopy is huge. Visibility is exceptional. You take off and select afterburner and the acceleration is violent and immediate. You climb at 20,000 feet per minute. The altimeter spins. You level at 25,000 and the IP talks you through basic handling. You're flying a fighter. This is what you wanted since you were 12 years old. The B course lasts 6 months. You learn the radar, the weapon systems, the sensors, the tactics. You learn air-to-air. It basic fighter maneuvers progress to 2v2 engagements where you and a wingman fight 2 adversaries and you must communicate, separate, target, engage, survive. You learn beyond visual range combat. Lock a target at 30 miles, fire an AMRAAM. The missile goes active, target dies. You never see them except as a symbol on a radar screen. You learn air-to-ground, dive bombing, level deliveries, close air support. You learn to employ JDAMs, laser-guided bombs, rockets. The 20mm cannon, you fly low level at 500 feet and 480 knots through the Arizona desert where power lines and mountains are real threats. You make mistakes. You fixate on the target and miss your altitude call-out, and your IP has to remind you that controlled flight into terrain kills more fighter pilots than enemy fire. You learn. You don't make that mistake again. You graduate the B course. You're mission ready. You receive orders to your first operational squadron, Level 5, the Wingman. You report to the 35th Fighter Squadron at Kunsan Air Base in South Korea, 1 year unaccompanied tour. You're the new guy in a squadron of 24 pilots. The most experienced has 3,000 hours. You have 300. You're a second lieutenant. The lowest rank, the least experienced pilot. You shut up and learn. You fly twice a day, sometimes 3 times. Training sorties, air-to-air, air-to-ground, suppression of enemy air defenses. You fly as wingman to experienced flight leads who make the tactical decisions while you execute your role. Maintain formation. Support your lead. Don't do anything stupid. The North Korean border is 40 miles north. You fly close enough to see it on a clear day. The tensions are real. The ROE are clear. If someone crosses the line wrong, people die. Your first red flag deployment, Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada. The most realistic combat training in the world. You fly against aggressors trained to replicate enemy tactics. You fly large force employment, 20 jets working together to penetrate defended airspace, destroy targets, survive. You get shot, simulated, 3 times in 2 weeks. Your debriefs are brutal. The aggressors are better than you. That's the point. You learn. By week 2, you survive the missions. By week 3, you're effective. You deploy to Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar. 6 months. You fly combat missions over Syria and Iraq. The enemy is ISIS remnants, insurgent groups, targets of opportunity. Your first combat sortie is close air support. AJTAC on the ground has troops in contact. You're overhead at 20,000 feet with 2 GBU-38s. The JTAC clears you hot. You designate the target, a building where enemy fighters are firing from. You roll in, pickle the bomb, pull off. The JTAC calls good effect, enemy fire ceased. You've just employed weapons in combat. Someone in that building died because you pressed a button. You don't feel what you thought you'd feel. You don't feel much at all. That comes later. Level 6, the flight lead. 4 years in. You're a captain now. You've accumulated 800 hours. You're upgraded to flight lead. You plan missions. You lead formations. You make the tactical decisions. When things go wrong, it's your responsibility. You deploy to an undisclosed location in the Middle East. The operations tempo is relentless. You fly 6 days a week. Strike missions, armed reconnaissance, close air support. The targets are enemy command posts, weapons caches, vehicles. You employ weapons on every 3rd sortie. The moral weight accumulates. You're good at compartmentalizing. You brief, you fly, you employ, you debrief, you sleep. You don't think about the people in the buildings. Thinking doesn't help. One mission goes wrong. You're supporting a ground operation. The JTAC clears you to strike a compound. You designate, you employ, the bomb is in the air. The JTAC calls abort, abort friendlies in the target area. Too late. The bomb impacts. You egress and wait for the report. 4 Afghan soldiers killed. Wrong coordinates or miscommunication or fog of war. The investigation takes 3 months. They rule the JTAC gave bad coordinates. Not your fault. You followed procedures. That determination doesn't change the fact that 4 people are dead because of a bomb you dropped. You think about that. You think about it at night when you can't sleep. You think about it when you're home on leave and your family asks how deployment was and you say fine. Level 7, the instructor. 8 years in, you're an instructor pilot now. You train the new wingmen. You've flown 1,200 hours. You've employed weapons in combat 27 times. You've lost count of the sorties. You teach the new guys what you learned the hard way. Don't fixate. Maintain situational awareness. Communicate. Don't be predictable. Some of them listen. Some think they know better. The ones who don't listen usually figure it out before they get hurt. Usually. Your body shows the years. Chronic neck pain from helmet weight and G-forces. Lower back compressed from ejection seat posture. Knees damaged from years of anti-G straining. The flight doc knows. Everyone's broken. You manage it with ibuprofen and stretching and the knowledge that admitting you're too hurt to fly means you're done flying. Your marriage ended 2 years ago. She was tired of deployments, tired of you being gone, tired of the person you became after the combat tours. You tried, you went to counseling, you said the right things, it wasn't enough. Some marriages survive the fighter pilot lifestyle, most don't. You have a daughter you see every other weekend, she's 7. She drew a picture of you in your jet, you keep it in your locker. Level 8, the commander, 12 years in. You're a major. You're given command of a fighter squadron, 24 jets, 30 pilots, 200 support personnel. You fly when you can, but most of your time is meetings, paperwork, personnel issues, readiness reports. You're responsible for everything, the good deployments and the bad ones, the successful missions and the ones that go wrong, and the pilots who thrive and the ones who struggle. You lose a pilot, not in combat. Training accident, engine failure on takeoff. He ejects too late, doesn't survive. He was 26 years old. You write the letter to his parents. You attend the funeral. You brief the accident investigation. You implement the corrective actions. None of it brings him back. You carry that. All commanders carry their dead. Level 9, the cycle. Somewhere in Texas right now. It's a second lieutenant is walking to a T6 for his first flight. He's 22 years old. He graduated the academy 3 months ago. He wants fighters. He wants to fly an F-22 or an F-35. He thinks he's ready. He's not. He doesn't know about the years of training where one mistake means elimination. He doesn't know about the deployments, the combat missions where you drop bombs on buildings and never see the faces inside. He doesn't know about the marriages that don't survive. They're the children who grow up with part-time fathers, the friends who die in training accidents or combat, or the quiet darkness that follows some people home. He doesn't know that the neck pain will be permanent and the back will never fully heal and the therapist will help but won't fix it. He doesn't know that flying fighters is the best job in the world and the hardest life you can choose, and that leaving will feel like losing your identity. He just knows he wants to fly. He straps into the jet. His IP is in the back seat. They start the engine. The propeller turns. They taxi to the runway. The IP clears him for takeoff. He advances the throttle. The aircraft accelerates. The nose lifts. The wheels leave the ground. He's flying. The cycle begins.